If you're not already excited about what's happening in the student ministry department at North Hills, you need to get excited because there are some really cool things that have already been happening, that are going to be happening. And the great thing is your 7th graders that are coming in are going to have the frontline seat to everything that's evolving and happening here. So that's super exciting for you as parents and also for your students. A little bit about myself. I am from Snellville, which, if you know where Snellville is, a small town. It's just east of Atlanta in Georgia. Grew up there, spent most of my life there. Like Tim said, we went to school at Liberty. And then through an avenue of a lot of different ministry opportunities, somehow I ended up in Central Texas. And I spent the last 14 years there in a lot of different capacities, ministry, a lot of that serving volunteer staff and the student ministry where we've been for the past 7 years. And it got to this point where the Lord really was impressing on my heart to get back into full-time ministry. Started looking, and we had some family things going on, and just incredible to see the timing between North Hills and their working through details, and then the way the Lord was working in our life in details, and it just came together so perfectly. So I'm so excited about that. But I also have a degree, like Tim said, from Liberty University, and I got a degree there in student ministry. And then while I was in Texas, I met my wife, Mary Beth, and she is a school teacher. And so she's finishing up the school year there. First week of June, I'm going to go back, get all of our stuff, come back here, and then you'll have an opportunity to meet her. She is super awesome. She's going to love on your students even more than I will. She's just an incredible woman when it comes to that. And then, so I'm super excited for you to meet her. I'm really excited to get to know your students. And the one cool thing, and I'm sure Tim's going to really build on this, is you guys are so blessed here to have a student ministry that is packed full of adult volunteers. I've never seen or been a part of a student ministry that is got so many adult volunteers. And the cool thing about that is they travel with your students, which I personally, that's a huge thing for me. And so I'm so glad that's a philosophy of ministry that Tim has already got in place. But the great thing about that is we had a set of 7th graders that we traveled with all the way up to graduation. They graduated last May. Those kids are like part of our family. And that's what your students, adult volunteers, life group leaders are going to be for them. They're going to just pour into their lives for the next 6 years. And that 6 years is just going to fly by. Not to make you feel depressed, but as your students start to get towards graduation. But it's going to be incredible to see how God works through that. And I'm super pumped to be on the front end to get that launched.
Cool. Good. My goal for him for the next couple months is to really do nothing other than just get to know your students, to get to know our leadership team, and to get to know you. That was a gift that was afforded to me when I got hired in 2010. Alan Bunn oversaw the ministry. All you old school people will probably remember those days. And that was a real gift for me to be able to hit the ground running relationally before. It's hard to be a shepherd of people that you don't really have relational equity with. So hopefully we'll be able to do that for Nick. 2 things real quick, and then I'll send you on your way, and then I want to take a couple questions. Why student ministry? Why is this important? Barna Research just came out in their latest study in 2023 and said 2 things have to be important in the life of a youth group in order for kids to stick with church once we graduate them. And they said 2 things. Number 1, have someone pouring into the student that is not youth pastor and not mom and dad. Have someone investing in the lives of the kids who is not youth pastor. How crazy is that? I thought that's what I was getting paid for. And not mom and dad. Here's why. When my wife looks at me and says, hey, you losing a little bit of weight? I'm like, you don't mean that. You're just saying that because you have to. You're my wife. You're really, really nice. But if someone else says that to me, I'm like, I am looking pretty good. I probably did lose a few pounds. I'm looking really good, right? There's just something about someone who's speaking into your life that doesn't have to. And there's no strings attached. So Barna Research said this is really important. Get other adults who love Christ speaking into the lives of your students. So we really try really, really hard to do that, number 1. Number 2, they talked about how it's really important to start getting them involved in the church. What we don't want to do is have your students be owners of a live student ministry and renters of North Hills Church. So many years have gone by where we have graduated kids, and we're doing it tonight in senior celebration night, and many of them feel like they're going to be evicted. Who's Peter Hubbard? Who's John Cruz? Who are the elders? What? All I know is alive. So what we are going to do in the years that we have with your kiddos is streamline them into the bloodline of North Hills. So when we graduate them, we are passing the baton in college ministry. We are doing intentional things to where they are now members of the church and not someone who just feels like they were kicked out of their youth group. And what do we do next? So those are two very core fundamental things that we are going to try to do really, really hard. Barna also said, out of all the believers, 100% of people who claim Christ, listen to this, 88% claim that they gave their lives to Christ before age 18. Out of the 88%, 61% of the 88 did it from 10 to 14. There's a massive window that your student is currently living in where, let me just say from parent to parent, you got to be all in right now with your kiddo. Pursue them like crazy. Give them the gospel every day. And why am I a big believer in getting them to alive? Because you're in that window right now. And you need other adults pushing your kids towards Christ. Now, God is sovereign. When he wants to save them, he'll do it. These are just earthly analytics and some statistics. So I'm not like spiritually putting like manipulative fear in your heart. But the study and the research does show there's something special about 10 to 14. So when parents look at me and go, should I force my kid to go to youth group? I say unequivocally and unapologetically, yes. Here's why. I was forced to go to youth group and I did not grow up an atheist. I know you feel like if you force your kid to go to church, that they're going to like hate the Lord and run from the church. That's actually like the very slim minority. I would say move heaven and earth to get your kids to be surrounded by all the adults that have the pictures of their face on the wall out in the dollar dinner area. I don't remember anything my youth pastor said from youth group, and I grew up at Fellowship Greenville, and we had a really strong youth group. I don't remember really anything my youth pastor said, but I pretty much remember most of my conversations with my small group leader because I felt seen. They knew me. There's too many kids for us to know. And I get blasted that, hey, Tim, you feel like you're a mile wide and an inch deep. Maybe, relationally, but that's why we have 72 life group leaders that I have personally gone after to say, come and fight with me, and let's reach teenagers for Christ. And here's the deal, your kids probably won't even like us. Most kids don't, but there's leaders that your 8th grade girl, I mean, I don't have much in common with 8th grade girls. I really don't. That's a good thing. You should be thankful for that. But I know women in our church where they are the rock stars. And here's the deal. I'm kind of a unicorn with going on year 15. Youth pastors come and go. So we want to build a really healthy youth group where if God calls me to Africa tomorrow, don't. But if he does, please don't. This youth group will be healthy and will be fine. And when these kids show up, they're really excited to see small group leader and not really us. So this is kind of their first step into the bloodline of our church of care, frontline, life group leaders. If you wonder where I spend most of my time, it is pouring into those 70-something life group leaders. If they are set up for success on Sunday, we're going to be just fine. And we actually have, Titus, you're a small group leader, life group leader. Do we have any other of my life group leaders in here? No, just Titus. So, anyways, why student ministry? It matters. I'm a product of student ministry. You're a product of student ministry. It was kind of that window of my life. I remember asking my youth pastor what he did for a living. Can you close that door? I remember asking him, and when he said he did this full time, I remember thinking, if being a rock star drummer never works out, I want to be you. Because I just thought the world of him. I thought he was so great. And so I think it's really cool that the Lord has allowed me to do ministry in my hometown of student ministry. We're really excited to jump in with your students and get them acclimated. So why student ministry? That's kind of my elevator pitch to you. Long elevator ride. Second, next steps. Let's just talk practicality. What does the future look like? So Treehouse, this is their last Sunday in Treehouse. Then we actually go to Treehouse Camp next Sunday. And you're probably wondering, why is he going and why am I going? We call Treehouse our farm league. It's the minor leagues, right? We're the Atlanta Braves, and that's AAA Greenville Braves over there. Any Greenville Braves fans? No old school. Really? No one remembers the Greenville Braves? Thank you for not making me feel that irrelevant. So we are going to Treehouse Camp just to hang out with those kiddos. But a lot of your kids aren't going to Treehouse Camp anymore. They're going to middle school Woodlands. And we're going to get kind of going in that camp direction in just a second. But this is going to be their last Treehouse. Then we have Promotion Sunday. Promotion Sunday is going to be June 2nd. That's when they get promoted in grades. So current 6th grader will officially be a 7th grader June 2nd. We're going to celebrate that, welcome them in, and then we are done meeting in this upstairs for almost 2 months. And I know what you're thinking. Why? And I say 2 words, worldview. Worldview comes upstairs, and this room I think becomes Asia. I think that becomes Africa, Europe. We lose our upstairs. But we kind of capitalize on this for relational equity, so we call it Travel Alive. So starting June 9th, we start having swim parties, we start having bonfire parties, we go to Pinky's Revenge and just play arcade games. And I know what you're thinking, really? That's stereotypical student ministry? But it works. Some of my best discipleship moments have been standing in line waiting to kick a kickball. So it's summer. The sun's up till 9:30. It's okay. It breaks up the monotony of summer flow and school year flow. But here's what you need to know about communication with this staff. The number one way we communicate to you is through a parent email. Now, I've been here long enough. I have heard the song and dance, oh, I don't check my email. Check it. Like, when I went to Liberty our freshman year, and if I looked at my professor and went, I don't check my email, he'd go, well, you're going to flunk. Like, you got to check your email, please. And even if it's not in your inbox, we copy and paste it and put it on the parent tab of the Alive Student Ministry website. So there's no excuses. Oh, my Gmail hates me. I know, but AliveStudentMinistry.com does not hate you. You can go there and you can check it where we copy and paste it. That is the bloodline of communication. First and foremost, check your email. And if you have any questions, you just hit that reply button. This is crazy. And then you type and you send it, and I will get your communication. The second way, and I know everyone has a different stance on social media, the reality is our students are there. So our second big way that we communicate is going to be social media. We're going to make sure we email you all the different platforms that we're on. And then thirdly, we do a mass text communication. If you go to the parent tab of the website, there's instructions for how you can sign up, and it's going to come right to your phone. There's other small ways that we do it, but email is going to let you know where Travel Alive is at, what time, what to bring, what not to bring, and everything in between. So if you read the email, you're going to be set up for success. Any questions real quick about communication? Everyone also get out your phone. I'm going to give you my cell phone number. Parents, if they can just shoot a quick text, normally that just can cover a multitude of sins. It's area code 864-363-2206. Same phone number since I was 14 years old. 864-363-2206. So, summer, Travel Alive. August, we're doing something called Deeper Weekend. This kicks off the brand new school year. It's organized chaos. We spend the night here. It's wild. We then wake up, and then we go to big church together. Deeper Weekend's going to be that back to school year, kind of launch them into the new school year. That's when they're going to meet their life group leaders for the first time. I've gotten the question a lot. Who are my kids' life group leaders? I don't know yet. Here's why. Leaders travel with their kids, so I already know who the 8th grade leaders are because it was my 7th grade ones. I already know who the 10th grade ones are because it was my 9th grade ones. No one's moving from Treehouse into 7th grade. So I kind of have to rebuild that and kind of get that going. So check back in with me end of July. I'll kind of know who your kiddo's life group leader is. And then when we go into Deeper Weekend, we are now into the rhythm of youth group. Youth group from middle school meets during third service. Doors open at 4:30. We start at 5 o'clock. We will be done at 6:30. And then from 6:30 to 7, we do dinner. And by dinner, it's pizza. So, pizza. Sometimes we do tacos if Taco Bell has a deal. We're called Dollar Dinner, but because of Bidenomics, we need to call it Dollars Dinner. I'm sorry, political joke. Very political. But cost of money is going through the roof. You guys can go and raise your hands. Perfect. So that's pretty much what their world is going to look like. We are a year out of splitting middle school and high school. This is new. So we've only done this for a year of completely splitting middle school and high school students. I can bore you later about why that needed to happen 10 years ago, but we finally got that done. But we meet during third service, and then your kiddo will be done at 6:30. If you want them to eat dinner, then they can stay until 7. Then they got to go. We are working through dynamics, so stay tuned of what if I have a high schooler and a middle schooler? And my kid is in high school and the middle school is over. Can they hang out here while high school is getting done? Now that we have a full-time shepherd in middle school, we might have an answer to that, but stay tuned. We have a couple months to get that figured out. So, yes, ma'am.
Did you say when Deeper Weekend is?
Yes. Everyone should have gotten a save the date flyer. Great question, Grace. Thank you. Everything you need to know is going to be kind of on here. So Deeper Weekend is August 17th and 18th. That's a Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday. Here. Yeah, girls will, well, and here's another thing, just FYI. The building's going to get wonky really fast, really soon. I think it's this Wednesday. They're demolishing the whole downstairs. Not to the point where we will collapse, but it's going to be weird. And then for first and second service, we're going to have to share with kids stuff. So where are we sleeping? Or I don't know. Boys used to go downstairs. I don't even know if that'll be open for us to do that. It's going to be, you're kind of coming in at a weird time. It's like we're moving houses, but we haven't bought the new house. We are actually getting evicted from up here, and we are moving into the current auditorium. But we cannot move until E is done. But the problem is once E, the new auditorium, gets done, then construction starts on that. We can't start on construction in there until we're out of that house and we go into our new house in here in probably a year. Things are just going to be wonky. I'm kind of just not even thinking about it so I don't feel overwhelmed. But I know it's coming. But I'm a jump and figure it out while I fall kind of guy. We'll just figure it out while we're falling. So, any other questions? Yes?
Part of one of the activities or whatever?
Great question. So, I am all for parents jumping in. And a lot of you I have such sweet relationships with. It'll be a really quick coffee. If you want to jump in and serve, we would just need to sit down and figure those dynamics out. Here's the good news and the bad news of our leadership team. The good news is, like Nick was saying, it's really strong, and I have a lot. So sometimes the bad news is I'm not desperate. So that's to almost free you up, but I'll take a Tara Pankey on my team any day. Sometimes I have parents who want to serve, and they don't care about the mission of this leadership team. They care about being a helicopter parent. I'm not saying that to you at all. I'm just talking in general. I think once I have coffee with a parent, I'll know whether to welcome them in or figure out a different route for said parent. Again, we're partnering with you. If you want to roll on our leadership team, that would just simply be an email to me asking to grab lunch, and then we can just kind of carry that conversation on. But we do have two different worlds that I call shepherd and chaperone. The shepherd is a life group leader. I need a lot of parents to be a chaperone. So what I mean by that is like J.D. Redmond would be perfect on my crowd control team, where JD is there just to make sure the monkeys aren't running the circus, but JD's not running the small group. You'd still be killer at it. But to have a parent on my team that's not a shepherd, he's more of a chaperone, that's a different conversation than a shepherd. Someone who's going to travel all the way from 7th grade all the way to 12th grade. But I have many parents that are like, hey, I can sling slices of pizza. You need me? I can help with $1 dinner. Okay, that's a whole different conversation. We'll then talk about child safety. Are you a member? Kind of the process of making sure that we keep all of our kiddos safe here. But we kind of have different categories of leadership on our team. So does that kind of answer that question?
I actually was thinking more chaperone anyway. You know, just to kind of help when you needed whatever.
Yeah. Let's grab coffee.
Sure.
Listen, my love language is anywhere out to eat or coffee. So if you guys want to grab it, we talk about Jesus at least 3 times. I can put it on the church card. Just kidding. That was a joke. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I know this is a question for you, for another parent,
yep.
but But with this dynamic, I'm not sure that the 7th, 8th graders will be going to service with us. I'm just curious kind of what people do, how
Yeah.
to work the logistics of that.
If you're currently living that, I would love to hear from you. Normally the dynamics are one of two. They go to church in the morning as a family, or we have seen a lot of families come, drop their kiddo off, and then go to church.
Okay.
I am a huge proponent on the first one. Go to church as a family, and then see if you can make Sunday night a priority for your kiddo. It doesn't always work necessarily dynamic-wise for every family. Even when there's not family worship Sundays for Judah and Levi, there are Sundays where I feel like I need to pull them out and worship with them, even when kid stuff is happening. I think it's really important for discipleship is not taught, it's caught. I want Judah to see me and Rachel worshiping. I think that's really, really important. And then some of the other stuff is going to be extra, but I say make the service a priority. Because one day this student ministry will be gone and the service will still be there. Now, I'm not trying to work us out of a job. I'm just trying to think the healthiest way is, I call it big church, is big church. Because here's the deal. There's only one Hubbard. We're going to teach, but here's the deal. Hubbard is going to exegetically go through the scriptures where we're going to be in the Beatitudes for the next 17 years. And that's the way it should be. And I love that. We only have 2 years with your middle schoolers. I only have 4 years with your high schoolers. So we are more topical expository. We're more topical. Now, this drives people crazy, and Titus kind of knows how my brain is wired. I'm topical with what's going on in culture. So sometimes something wild is happening in culture, and I hit the brakes on my plan, and I focus on that. Example would be the Asbury revival. You guys remember when that was going on? I had high schoolers wanting to know what was going on. So we pressed pause, and we talked for 3 weeks about what is spiritual and biblical revival. It was appropriate. It was really helpful. We had a school shooting at a middle school, Tanglewood. Y'all remember Tanglewood? We stopped, and we talked about that. We just don't want to ignore the elephant in the room sometimes. That doesn't mean we don't have a plan, but here's the deal. Hubbard's going to expositorily exegete the scriptures. We don't do that mainly because, number one time we took kids out to play kickball and eat ice cream, and I got a mean email from a parent saying, "Why did I drop my kid off at church and you did not open up God's word?" Where I replied, "Thanks so much for the email. We're not church. Love Tim." Same. It was a lot nicer than that. We are extra to church. The church is baby to 99-year-old corporate worship in there. We don't take communion. We don't church discipline. I mean, we do sometimes. Shut up. Listen. There's so many things going on there that the elders have not given us a green light to do. But what we want to do is complement what Peter is doing. And here's the deal. They've already heard a sermon on Sunday. The last thing they need to do is sit in these chairs and hear another 45-minute exegetical through Leviticus chapter 4. Our attendance will go from 90 to 3 real quick. So what we're trying to do, our bread and butter, is life group. Talk about what's going on, point them to God's word, but then get them in a room where they can talk about it with other adults who love Christ. I always say circles are more important than rows, at least up here. If I can get them in circles, it's more important than kind of what I feel like we're doing with the rows right here. So we're not church. Sometimes we look like church. We trick people to think we're church. We're not church. Just like no one would call men's ministry church. No one would call women's ministry church, kind of thing. So, but all that to say, a lot of people come to church in the morning, and then here's the deal. You kind of have 3 options. Drop your kid off with us, and it's a free date night. You're welcome. Drop your kid off with us and come serve with us. That's cool, and it's biblical. Or number 3, we have a lot of parents come and whip out their laptops in the community room and just work. So you really have 3 options. Let's talk about serving. Drop your kid off, and at least you're one less kid. Or we have a lot of parents who chill in their cars. They turn on their hotspot and they work. Or there's some parents who just breathe and just get an hour and a half. Now, I get it. For a lot of us, we still have littles. My wife has not been upstairs, I think, ever because of Judah and Levi. And the joke is Mary Beth loves student ministry. And so when my wife heard about Mary Beth, she went, "Gosh, she's she's going to make me look bad. Mary Beth is, I can't get Rachel up here to say, and if you know Rachel, you don't want Rachel up here. It'd be bad. It'd be bad. So that would kind of be my answer. Now, my soapbox, when parents drop their kids off at high school soccer practice, if you were to go to that coach and go, hey, what do I do for my junior varsity player? The coach would just kind of laugh at you. Some of the questions we get in church world is actually kind of hilarious when you put it in the context of our culture and what's going on in life. So sometimes, hey, what do I do with my middle schooler while my high schooler is going on? Figure it out. Like the high school football coach would leave you and go, we don't do anything for middle school. What? Just sit in your car or wait or have a picnic or, I don't know, figure it out. I would just say if sports and all these other things are going on is important, I think this should be the most important. So when I say move heaven and earth, it's just because we've seen kid after kid come out of this program, and they'll come back and say, I'm so glad my parents made this a priority for me to be a part of. And I don't say that because I'm on staff. I say that because even before I was a youth pastor, I believed in student ministry. It's really important. So hopefully that's somewhat helpful. Anything else? And then we can cut you guys loose. And I think we did a meeting in under 30 minutes. Huh. There we go. Anything else? Well, let me tell you this. This will be my last thing in 2 minutes, and then we'll be out of here. Tonight, we are celebrating our seniors that are graduating. It feels like yesterday that their parents were in this classroom with me, welcoming them into middle school. 6 years is really not that long. Like, think about 6 years ago, from 2024 to 2018, that probably feels like yesterday for a lot of us in this room. I can tell you that it goes by really fast. The tears that you will see from seniors tonight in high school programming normally comes back to this middle school room. You will hear the seniors, the upperclassmen, talk about, man, thanks for loving me when I was acne-filled, puberty-hitting, so confused and obnoxious in middle school. This is the year, if we can win their trust in middle school, they are putty in our hands for high school. I'm just being honest. When kids jump in around 10th grade, it's an uphill battle. But when I get kids from middle school world that can hit the ground running relationally, I think the sky's the limit. So I would encourage you, from kind of the outside looking in, after sending out 14 graduating classes, it always comes back to their middle school years. They're always really grateful for stuff that was implemented into them now that kind of paid massive dividends for them when they're 18 years old. Because there are Sundays when we are done with middle school ministry and I literally think, what happened? Did they hear anything we said? One kid was climbing up the walls. The other one was over here doing the next Fortnite dance. Like, is what we're doing, does it matter? And then you hear them say something when they're 16 and you realize the dots were connected. And what we were doing was not being done in vain, but God was being faithful in planting the seeds. You win them when they're obnoxious and they're 12, so I can lean into them when they're 17 and they receive it. And I think that's worth its weight in gold. Paul Fuller, how many times did I walk around the building with your kid? Sipping on Dr. Pepper, probably 90% not biblical and 10% was. Then in his junior year, senior year, when some things were kind of really hard for him, he listened. It's because we kind of earned it. So many times in student ministry, there's no relationship, and we just bark at them to just do things, and the kids are like, you don't even know me. Like, kick rocks. Okay, kind of immature, but they are. So we're going to walk with them through some really hard years, and I promise you, come junior, senior year, it pays dividends. So we're really excited.
Yeah.
To have a full-time guy is just a dream come true. And that does not mean less work for Tim. I'm going to actually be very much more involved with middle school, kind of in a different role than I have been before. I will say this too. Please be kind to him. North Hills, we're a weird church, man. Like sometimes when it comes to new people, and we're kind of hard to get to know. My first year, not one parent took me out for coffee just to get to know me. They had an agenda. This is how Keith Hodges did it. And remember Keith Hodges? This is how we want you to do it. Hey, I need you to, blah, blah, blah. Hey, are we going to do any new camps? Or hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, just get to know him. Love on him. Be kind. My goal for him for the next however many months is to really do nothing. So I'm still going to be doing everything like I have been, but it's more just to kind of tell him what the password to the computer is, how to check his, what's your email address? Here it is. Like, we didn't even have office furniture for him when he got here. So it's going to take a while to get him moving, but if you're kind to him, you're being kind to me. So, and if you're upset, don't go to him. If you're upset, come to me. We'll shield him from that. You'll be dead inside like me soon. It's okay. All right, I'm done. Are we good?
Yes.
My man. My man.